4 more years, New Mexico spoke and overwhelmingly voted to re-elect Republican Susana Martinez as the state's governor. Here's a look at the results. News 13 called this race early, Matt.
Yeah, Governor Martinez came in easily beating her opponent Gary King. The numbers there, 57% to 43%. And as News 13's Alex Goldsmith reports, for the governor, this wide margin of victory means the party last night got started pretty early.
We did it! This is amazing!
Governor Susana Martinez had no problem enjoying herself on election night.
The balloons and confetti didn't drop until after 10 o'clock tonight, but the celebration for the Martinez camp was on well before that.
The Republicans' double-digit victory over Democratic challenger Gary King in a typically blue state meant neither she nor her supporters had to sweat much. But her husband and Mayor Barry did, while tossing out T-shirts to the crowd. The shirt's message, back-to-back champs.
Thank you, New Mexico.
Martinez was able to massively outspend King this election, hitting her opponent with an aggressive TV ad campaign. In a brief speech to supporters, the Attorney General didn't address the blowout loss or Martinez, but a spokesman did.
Despite the damage that's been done by the current governor, we really wish New Mexico the best of luck.
The King family has dedicated a half a century to public service, and for that, they deserve our sincere thanks.
In her victory speech, Martinez made a promise to keep pushing education and economic reforms.
We've got a lot of work to do, but we've made important progress.
But the governor made it clear she wants to avoid the partisanship and gridlock of Washington, D.C.
Government still works in New Mexico, and we can still find common ground.
She'll now have 4 more years to try. Alex Goldsmith, KRQE, News 13.
Well, New Mexico will have Governor Martinez for another 4 years, but what does all of this mean for her future, particularly in Washington? Last night, News 13's Dick Kniffing asked UNM political science professor Gabe Sanchez about Governor Martinez's future, particularly in Washington, maybe 4 years from now, and about the possibility of her running against Senator Martin Heinrich.
Yeah, I think this definitely has a prospect for doing that. People obviously love her. You know, she's going to have the opportunity to do that if she wants to. And I think if you really look at it this way, you know, 4 years from now, if she does that and she's successful, that really puts her on the national stage. VP, president, anything would be possible at that point.
Well, the governor has some support from very high-profile Republicans, including New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and former presidential candidate Mitt Romney, who all campaigned for her earlier this year. Well, the big question this morning at 6:32, will Republicans take control of the State House here in New Mexico for the first time in about 60 years?
It was a very dramatic election night for both parties, and it looks like Republicans could take control. Before today, Democrats had a 37 to 33 majority, but this morning, here's how the numbers are trending. Those numbers have flip-flopped. The GOP now with 37 seats, Dems with 33. News 13's Catherine Mazzone is in the Newsplex with a breakdown of the latest on how this could be a very historical shift.
That's right, Crystal. It's not official just yet, but those are the numbers trending right now. Now, if they stay that way, this will be a historic move for the New Mexico government. For all of 2014, the thought of a Republican House was a big part of the election. Earlier this year, a well-funded Republican political group forked over funds to 9 GOP House candidates. And another national group, the Republican State Leadership Committee, said the New Mexico House is one of its top targets. Now, that's nationwide. It seems like that push may have helped. But what does all of this mean for the governor and New Mexico lawmakers? Well, that's exactly what political expert Gabe Sanchez and former News 13 anchor Dick Kniffing spoke about last night right here on KRQE.
Even if the governor gets the House, what is she going to be able to do with her agenda?
It gives her a little bit more influence, but yeah, the Dems still have the Senate, and it's clear they're not going to budge. You know, Sanchez is not going to give in to the governor, so I think she is going to have to, you know, form some coalitions. And if she's willing to do that, she can do a lot, but if it's going to be more of the same, we'll just have gridlock. And unfortunately, you know, nobody wants to see that.
The shift in the House is the big story of the day. We, of course, will be taking a closer look at what this means. We'll lay it all out for you later here on KRQE News 13. Crystal, back to you.
All right, thanks, Catherine. Now, there's already talk that if Republicans take back control, Representative Nate Gentry of Bernalillo County will be voted in as a speaker. Right now, Speaker of the House is Democrat Representative Ken Martinez, also of Bernalillo County.
634, one of the most heated races this election season here in New Mexico is between U.S. Senator Tom Udall and his Republican challenger Alan Way. And this morning, we know Senator Udall has won a second term. He beat Mr. Way 55 to 45. During the race, the two released some pretty nasty ads, and polling close to the election showed that Way was able to inch closer to Senator Udall. During his acceptance speech last night, the senator talked about what those ads attacked him on, the issues here.
I think what resonated with people is the idea that I was doing a good job when it comes to all of the things that are New Mexico, our bases, our labs, our land.
We've got to have less partisanship and more collaboration between Republicans, Democrats, and Independents.
Well, this morning, we are finally finding out who will be New Mexico's next Secretary of State. It looks like Republican Secretary of State Diana Duran will keep her job despite a strong challenge from Democrat and Bernalillo County Clerk Maggie Toulouse Oliver. Duran right there up by 4 points over Ms. Toulouse Oliver. Now, Duran ran on a platform of pushing for more voter ID rules to prevent what she says is regular voter fraud here in New Mexico. But Ms. Oliver says Duran has wasted too much time on the issue at the expense of bigger picture ideas.
Another race we've been watching very closely this morning, the race for land commissioner, which remains a tight one this morning. Right now, incumbent Ray Powell and Aubrey Dunn both at 50%. Latest results show Powell leading with less than 2,000 votes. In the Attorney General's race, current state auditor Hector Valderas is now the state's new AG. He blew away challenger Susan Riedel. The numbers are 58 to 42. So who is going to take over Valderas' job as state auditor? It looks like that's going to be Tim Keller, a state senator. Keller came in with 54% of the votes, Robert Aragon 46%.
And it turns out a majority of voters in Bernalillo and Santa Fe counties are for reducing pot penalties. Advisory questions asked voters about this, and in Santa Fe County here you see 73% of voters voted for it, just 27% against. Here in Bernalillo County, let's take a look at the numbers. They're a little bit closer, but still a pretty big gap there. 60% voted for reducing the pot penalties, 40% were against it. Now, again, this is just a poll question for both counties. It does not affect any laws. It's supposed to give leaders an idea of where people stand on what's becoming a very divisive issue. Right now, people with small amounts of pot can go to jail here in New Mexico. The question is changing that so they would just get a small fine.
I think we've got better things to do with our criminal justice system than chasing after someone. To me, it's not any different than drinking in limitations.
No, I don't agree with it. It might be just an ounce, but I still don't agree with it because I don't believe in the legalization of something like that.
Now remember, back in August, Santa Fe City Council made having small amounts of pot just a civil violation. If police choose to fine it like that with just a $25 fine. Albuquerque City Councilor Ray Garduno told us, with the poll showing people here are in support of it too, he wants to craft a plan to do something similar to what Santa Fe did. And voters in Bernalillo County show they are in favor of increasing the sales tax a bit to support mental health issues. This is from another one of those advisory or poll questions. The numbers here, 69 to 31. That's with people in favor of adding a 1/8% gross receipts tax, basically sales tax, to provide mental and behavioral health services. Once again, this is just an advisory question. It does not mean the sales tax is going up right now.
We know this morning who will be Bernalillo County's sheriff. Republican Scott Baird unseated his former boss Dan Houston for the Republican placehold. Baird said his goal was to clean up some of the problems the department faced under Sheriff Houston. And Democrat Manny Gonzalez has been down the road before. Gonzalez took over the department back in '09 when Darren White left to work for Albuquerque Mayor R.J. Berry. And this morning, here are the latest numbers. Gonzalez beat Baird 52 to 48%. And we will continue our coverage of last night's election throughout the day here on News 13 and on 2 Casa Fox. We'll also have updates on our website. That's KRQE.com.